Good evening, I'm Clara Nightwell, and tonight I'm here with Rowan Hartsteele. Tonight we're beginning a quiet journey through the life of a man whose ideas shaped the modern world, even when the world didn't quite understand him.
His name was Nikola Tesla, an engineer, an inventor, and a man whose life moved between brilliance and solitude.
Over the next few moments, we'll follow his story from the beginning, not as a legend, but as a human life unfolding step by step.
This is a biographical journey, told in parts, from his childhood in Europe to his arrival in America, his discoveries, his struggles, and his final years.
And as always, you don't need to know anything beforehand. Just stay with us and let the story take its time. Rowan, let's begin at the very beginning. Rowan, before the inventions, before the theories, before anyone knew his name, what kind of life did Nikola Tesla come from?
He came from a place where life moves slowly. Nikola Tesla was born in 1856 in a small village called Smiljan, surrounded by mountains and long stretches of silence. It wasn't a world of progress or industry, it was a world of routine, seasons, and patience.
So his first world wasn't about speed at all.
No! And inside his home, there was a quiet contrast. His father, Milutin, was a Serbian Orthodox priest, devoted to order, education, and discipline. His mother, Yuka, had never attended school, yet she possessed an extraordinary ability to build and repair tools, often inventing small devices to solve everyday problems.
I didn't know that. It feels like two very different ways of understanding intelligence.
It was. One was structured and verbal, the other was intuitive and physical. Tesla grew up between those two worlds, absorbing both without fully belonging to either.
And what was he like as a child inside that environment?
Those who wrote about his early years describe a boy who noticed more than he spoke. He had an exceptional memory, a deep focus, and a tendency to retreat inward. Ordinary noise could overwhelm him. Ordinary conversation often failed to hold his attention.
So that could mean being around people wasn't always easy for him.
That seems likely. He appeared gentle, polite, and reserved, but much of his life took place internally. While other children learned through play, Tesla learned through observation. He watched, he remembered, he connected ideas quietly.
Was there a moment where that inner world first revealed itself?
There is one memory he returned to later in life. As a child, he once stroked a cat and saw small sparks flash in the dark. Static electricity! Brief and harmless. But for him, it lingered. It raised a question he couldn't set aside. How could something invisible suddenly become visible?
I didn't know that story. It's such a quiet image, but it feels important.
It was important because it stayed with him. Long before formulas or machines, Tesla was learning to pay attention to forces beneath the surface of things, to what couldn't be touched, but could still be felt.
So even then, he wasn't chasing invention. He was chasing understanding.
Yes, and that sense of quiet searching followed him forward, out of childhood, out of home, and into the education that would begin to shape, and eventually strain, the life ahead of him.
As he grew older, Rowan, what began to change for him? When does that quiet childhood start to open into something larger?
As Tesla entered adolescence, the world around him began to press more firmly. Education became serious. Expectations sharpened. He was no longer just a thoughtful boy. He was expected to choose a direction.
And did he know what that direction was?
Not immediately. What he did know was that his mind was accelerating. He showed exceptional ability in mathematics and physics, often solving problems mentally and astonishing his teachers with the speed of his reasoning.
That must have drawn attention, maybe not all of it comfortable.
It did. Admiration came alongside pressure. Success raised expectations, and expectation can be heavy for someone already living inwardly. Tesla studied intensely, often obsessively, driven less by ambition than by an inability to turn his thoughts off.
So learning wasn't something he chose lightly. It was something that took hold of him.
Yes, and when he later enrolled in technical studies in Graz, that intensity deepened. For the first time, he encountered complex electrical systems, and something within him locked onto the idea of improving them.
Is that where electricity truly enters his life?
It is. While studying, Tesla became frustrated by the limitations of existing machines. He could see inefficiencies others accepted. In his mind, alternatives began forming. Cleaner, more elegant systems that existed only as images at first.
So while others were learning how things worked, he was imagining how they could work differently.
Exactly. But this period also carried strain. Tesla pushed himself relentlessly. He slept little. He studied through exhaustion. What looked like brilliance from the outside often felt like pressure from within.
That sounds unsustainable, like a body trying to keep up with a mind that never slows.
That's a fair way to describe it. Over time, the imbalance took its toll. Tesla's studies became irregular. His relationship with structure weakened, and eventually his formal education fractured. Not because he lacked ability, but because the system could not contain the way he functioned.
So even success wasn't enough to keep him grounded.
No, this period ends with uncertainty. A young man full of ideas, carrying disappointment, and standing at the edge of independence, unsure where he belongs, but increasingly certain that his future cannot remain where he began.
After his studies became uncertain, what did Tesla do next? Where does someone like him go when structure begins to fall away?
For a time, his life became unsettled. Tesla moved between short-term work and periods of instability, trying to survive while carrying ideas that had nowhere to land. He worked with telegraph companies and electrical firms, learning practical systems, even as his mind kept drifting toward something more ambitious.
So this wasn't a clean path forward. It sounds fragmented.
It was. He spent time in different parts of Europe, including Budapest and Paris, often working long hours while privately refining ideas that no one around him fully understood. This was not a period of recognition. It was a period of endurance.
That must have been difficult, holding on to something invisible while trying to survive day to day.
Very much so. And yet, it was during this unsettled time that one of the most important moments of his life occurred. While walking with a friend in a public park, Tesla suddenly visualized a rotating magnetic field, the foundation of alternating current.
That idea came to him? Just like that?
According to his own accounts, yes. He described seeing the system form in his mind with extraordinary clarity, not as a sketch, but as a functioning machine. In that moment, years of quiet observation seemed to align.
So while his life looked unstable from the outside, something essential was coming together inside him.
Exactly. But having an idea and having a place to build it are very different things. Tesla understood that Europe could not give him what he needed. Opportunity, capital, and scale existed elsewhere.
Is that when America enters his life?
Yes. In 1884, with little money and a handful of papers, Tesla boarded a ship bound for New York. He carried letters of introduction, a mind full of untested ideas, and no certainty about what awaited him.
That's such a fragile moment, leaving everything behind without knowing if anyone will listen.
It is. And as the ship crossed the Atlantic, Tesla was not traveling toward success yet, only toward possibility. What waited for him in America would test not just his ideas, but his resilience.
When Tesla arrived in New York, what kind of world did he step into?
He entered a city in motion. New York in the 1880s was loud, crowded, and electric in every sense. Industry was expanding rapidly, and electricity itself was becoming a symbol of progress and power.
That must have felt overwhelming for someone as sensitive as he was.
It did. But it was also where opportunity lived. Tesla arrived with a letter of introduction addressed to Thomas Edison, already a celebrated inventor and businessman. The letter described Tesla as a remarkable engineer, and Edison agreed to meet him.
So two very different minds finally crossed paths.
Yes. Edison valued practicality, speed, and systems that worked immediately. Tesla valued elegance, theory, and long-term vision. At first, they worked together. Tesla was assigned to improve Edison's direct current generators, and he did so with remarkable efficiency.
Then why did it fall apart?
Because their philosophies collided. Tesla believed alternating current could transmit electricity over long distances with far greater efficiency. Edison rejected the idea, committed to the system he had already built his business upon.
So it wasn't just personal, it was structural.
Exactly. Tesla's proposals were not welcomed. Promises were misunderstood or broken. The working relationship deteriorated, and eventually Tesla left Edison's company without money, without support, and without certainty.
That must have been devastating, to arrive with hope and lose everything so quickly.
It was a humbling period. Tesla worked manual labor for a time just to survive. Yet even during that hardship, he continued refining his ideas. He did not abandon alternating current. He carried it quietly, waiting for the right moment.
So this was a pause, not an ending.
Yes. The city had not defeated him. It had tested him. And soon, someone else would begin to listen.
After everything he lost in New York, how did Tesla find his way back?
He found it when someone finally listened. Tesla's ideas about alternating current reached George Westinghouse, an industrialist willing to see beyond immediate profit and toward long-term possibility.
So for the first time, his ideas weren't dismissed.
They were recognized. Westinghouse purchased Tesla's patents and invited him to collaborate. For a moment, Tesla was no longer alone. His vision had infrastructure behind it.
That must have felt like relief, finally being understood.
It did, and soon the conflict that had followed him became public. The struggle between alternating current and direct current unfolded on a national scale, not just as science, but as politics, money, and fear.
So the debate wasn't really about electricity anymore.
No, it became about control. Edison's system was already installed in cities. Alternating current threatened to replace it. Campaigns were launched to portray it as dangerous, even deadly.
That must have been painful. Watching his work turned into something people feared.
Tesla rarely engaged in public conflict. He believed results would speak more clearly than argument. And slowly, they did. Alternating current proved capable of transmitting electricity across long distances, something direct current simply could not do.
Is that when the world finally saw it?
Yes! At the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, Tesla's system illuminated the fairgrounds. Millions witnessed electricity not as danger, but as light, steady, beautiful, transformative.
That must have been an extraordinary moment for him.
It was. And it continued at Niagara Falls, where alternating current was used to generate and transmit power on an unprecedented scale. The future Tesla had imagined quietly years earlier was now visible to the world.
So for a moment, everything aligned.
For a moment, yes. Fame followed. Recognition came. Tesla was celebrated as a visionary. But even as the world lit up around him, his attention was already drifting elsewhere, toward ideas far beyond what had just been achieved.
After that moment of recognition, what happened to Tesla? Where did his life begin to turn?
As success arrived, Tesla did not settle into it. His attention moved forward again, toward ideas even more ambitious. He began working on wireless transmission of energy, believing electricity could one day travel through the air itself.
That sounds almost unimaginable for the time.
It was, and it required enormous funding. Tesla invested everything into experimental work, building laboratories and pursuing theories that stretched beyond what investors could easily understand or measure.
So once again, he was moving ahead of the world around him.
Yes, and this time the gap became costly. Projects stalled. Funding disappeared. The great tower at Wardenclyffe, meant to broadcast energy and information, was never completed.
That must have felt like watching a dream collapse in slow motion.
It did. As years passed, Tesla withdrew from public life. His announcements became less frequent, his work more isolated. While others built industries, he remained alone with concepts too large to fit the moment.
And the world that once celebrated him began to move on.
Yes. Tesla lived his later years in New York hotels, often struggling financially. He formed a deep attachment to pigeons he fed daily, creatures that asked nothing of him except presents.
That's such a tender image. After all the machines, something so simple.
It was a quiet form of companionship. In his final years, Tesla received occasional honors, but little material support. When he died in 1943, he did so alone in his hotel room at the age of 86.
And yet, his work didn't disappear with him.
No. Long after his death, the systems he helped imagine became foundations of the modern world. His life ended quietly, but his ideas continued, traveling far beyond the time he was given to live in.
Before we come back together for the final moments of tonight's program, I'd like to invite Margaret to join us for a brief pause. Margaret, for those who felt close to Nikola Tesla tonight, where might you gently guide them next?
Thank you, Clara. Tesla's life is one of those stories that doesn't really end when the facts do. A quiet place to begin is My Inventions, written by Tesla himself. It's not polished or dramatic. It feels more like listening to him think out loud.
So it's his voice, more than his legend.
Exactly. And for readers who want to stay with his life a little longer, Wizard, The Life and Times of Nikola Tesla offers a gentle, human portrait, one that moves slowly through both his brilliance and his solitude.
That sounds like a book you don't rush through.
It really isn't. And finally, for those curious about how his ideas reached the world, Tesla, inventor of the electrical age, helps place his work within the larger story of modern life, without losing sight of the man behind it.
3 very different ways of staying close to him.
Yes. Sometimes we just need a few doors left open.
Thank you, Margaret. That was a lovely place to pause with you tonight.
Thank you, Clara. It was a pleasure.
As we sit with everything we've heard tonight, I keep thinking about how quiet his ending was.
Yes. When Tesla's life slowed, it didn't do so dramatically. There was no final triumph, no great reconciliation, just time passing and a man still thinking.
It feels strange, doesn't it, that someone who gave so much light to the world lived his last years almost unseen?
It does, but perhaps his life reminds us that meaning isn't always measured by how loudly it's recognized. Some contributions keep working long after the person who made them has gone quiet.
So maybe his story isn't about failure or success, but about distance, about arriving earlier than others could.
Yes, and for anyone listening tonight who has ever felt out of step with their time, Tesla's life offers something gentle, not a lesson, but a kind of recognition.
That sometimes being ahead doesn't mean being wrong, it only means waiting longer to be understood.
And sometimes, the waiting itself becomes part of the legacy.
Before we say goodnight, Rowan, thank you for walking us through his life so gently.
Thank you, Clara. It was one of those stories that stays with you quietly.
If this story stayed with you as well, you're very welcome to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to continue listening, there are more conversations waiting for you about people, memory, and the moments that connect us. Until next time, stay with us.